The church bells rang in the distance, their sound soft but steady, like a heartbeat calling everyone to witness joy. For most people that day was beautiful. For me it was the day my soul cracked in silence. I had dreamed about it for years, seeing my only daughter Emma walk down the aisle in her white gown, glowing with love and happiness. I imagined holding her hands one last time before she became a wife, whispering blessings only a mother could give. I arrived early, clutching a small box wrapped in blue ribbon. Inside was a locket, one that had belonged to her grandmother. It was worn from age, but inside were two tiny pictures, one of Emma as a baby, and one of me holding her in my arms for the first time. That locket was meant to be her something old, a gift of love, a piece of her roots to carry into her new life. But as soon as she saw me on the church steps, her expression changed. The sparkle in her eyes dimmed. She looked over her shoulder, as if afraid someone might notice I was there. My heart squeezed at that look. Shame. "Mom," she whispered, her voice almost cold. "You can't come in." First I thought she was joking. My lips trembled with a smile I forced, waiting for her to laugh and hug me. "Sweetheart, what are you talking about? Of course I'm coming in." I wouldn't miss this moment for anything. Her fiancé's family stood nearby, dressed in luxury, their eyes sharp and judgmental, like they were watching a scene unfold exactly as they wanted. Emma's grip tightened around her bouquet, and she looked back at me as if I were a stain she had to cover up. "You'll embarrass me," she said flatly, her words slicing through me like glass. Embarrass her? I blinked in disbelief. Memories flooded my mind, me walking her to school in second-hand clothes, me patching up her shoes when the soles wore thin, me staying awake all night when she had a fever, praying for her life. I worked double shifts cleaning other people's houses just to put food on the table. And now the child I sacrificed everything for looked at me with disgust, as though my love was something shameful. The guests started whispering. Some looked away, pretending not to see, while others smirked at the drama. The church door was only a few steps away, but those steps had become an impossible distance. My voice cracked as I held out the gift. "Emma, I brought you this. Your grandmother's locket. Please take it. It's all I have to give you today." She didn't even glance at it. She turned her back, tugging her groom's arm. "Please just go home. This isn't the place for you." The gift slipped in my trembling hands. My heart splintered into pieces so small they could never be put back together. My daughter, the baby I had rocked to sleep, the child I had protected, the young woman I had guided, had just erased me from the most important day of her life. For a second I couldn't breathe. My knees weakened, the world tilted, and I thought I might collapse right there on those stone steps. The groom, Michael, looked at her, his jaw tightening. His eyes flickered between me and Emma, confusion filling his face. "Are you serious?" he asked quietly, his voice low but firm. "This is your mother." Emma avoided his gaze, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "She doesn't understand, Michael. She doesn't belong here. Please just support me." Michael stood frozen, his face shadowed with something unreadable. The crowd grew restless, whispers spreading like wildfire. Inside, the music was starting. Everyone was waiting. And there I was, standing on the church steps, shaking with a grief deeper than words. I stepped back, my lips quivering, my eyes burning with unshed tears. No one came to defend me. Not a guest, not a friend, not even her bridesmaids. I was invisible, disposable. And in that moment, something inside me broke. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her shoulders and shake her, to remind her of the woman who raised her, the woman who gave her everything. But all I did was whisper, "I love you, Emma. Even if you don't want me here, I'll always love you." My words dissolved into the cold air as she turned away. She walked into the church, leaving me behind like an unwanted shadow. The doors closed, the music swelled, and I sat down on the stone steps, my body trembling as I clutched the locket to my chest. Memories swirled around me. The nights she climbed into my bed when thunderstorms scared her. The morning she proudly showed me her drawings, the time she promised me, "Mommy, I'll never leave you." That little girl was gone. In her place stood a woman ashamed of me. And I sat there wondering, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? Would you walk away quietly, or would you fight to be seen? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear your heart. Tears streamed down my cheeks. I whispered into the wind, I gave you my life, Emma. And today you've taken it from me. But life has a cruel way of twisting fate. Because what happened next, the words the groom spoke, the decision he made would change everything forever. I don't remember how I walked home that day. My body moved, but my soul felt left behind at the church steps. The world around me blurred. The laughter of people spilling out of cars, the distant music of the celebration I wasn't allowed to join, the ringing of the church bells announcing a union that excluded the very woman who gave her life for the bride. When I finally closed the door to my small apartment, silence wrapped around me like a shroud. I sank into the worn couch, still clutching the box with the locket. My fingers fumbled to untie the blue ribbon, and when I opened it, the locket glimmered faintly in the dim light. Inside, the little picture stared back at me. One of Emma as a baby, her tiny fists clenched, her mouth curled into a newborn cry. The other me so much younger, my eyes tired but glowing with pride as I held her close. Now those same eyes stared at me from the mirror across the room, but the glow was gone. All I saw was a mother who wasn't enough. That night sleep never came. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, hearing her words again and again. You'll embarrass me. They echoed inside me like a cruel lullaby, keeping my heart raw and restless. By morning the news had already spread. My neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, knocked on my door. She was breathless, her face flushed with urgency. "Oh, Mary," she said, stepping inside without waiting for permission. "Did you hear what happened at the wedding?" My stomach clenched. I had left before the vows began. My voice was small. "What happened?" She leaned closer, lowering her tone as if the walls themselves might listen. "The groom, Michael, he stopped the ceremony. Right there at the altar." I froze. "Stopped it? What do you mean?" Mrs. Jenkins nodded, her eyes wide with both shock and gossip-fueled excitement. "He turned to Emma, and in front of everyone, he said he couldn't marry her. He told her a woman who disrespects her own mother isn't ready to be a wife. And then he walked out. Just walked away." The world tilted. My knees buckled and I sank into the chair behind me. My hands gripped the armrest like it was the only thing keeping me tethered to reality. He left her?" I whispered, hardly able to believe it. Mrs. Jenkins nodded again. "Yes." People gasped, some cried. Emma ran out of the church in tears. No one's seen her since. I pressed my hand to my chest, feeling my heart race. A storm of emotion surged inside me. Shock, sorrow, relief, guilt. My daughter had pushed me away, but it wasn't me who destroyed her day. It was her choice, her shame, her blindness to love. Tears stung my eyes, but they weren't the same tears as yesterday. These carried something different, something like vindication, something like hope. Someone had seen me. Someone had valued me when my own flesh and blood could not. But the joy didn't last. A wave of guilt swept over me. Was it my fault? Had my presence at the church been the spark that lit the fire? If I had stayed home, maybe Michael wouldn't have questioned her. Maybe the wedding would have gone on, and Emma would be living the life she wanted. The thought tore at me. I covered my face with my hands and wept, the sound of my sobs echoing in the small apartment. For days there was nothing but silence. Emma didn't call. Not a single text, not even anger. Just nothing. She vanished, leaving me with questions that gnawed at my soul. Was she safe? Did she hate me? Was she ever coming back? The locket sat on the table unopened, untouched, a painful reminder of what I had lost. Each time I looked at it, I remembered the girl who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms, begging me to hold her tight. I remembered the young woman who promised, "Mom, when I get married, you'll be right beside me." And I wondered, where had that girl gone? One night, after days of silence, there was another knock on my door. My heart leapt. Maybe it was her, maybe she was ready to face me. With trembling hands, I opened the door. But it wasn't Emma. It was Michael. He stood there in a simple shirt and slacks, his tie loose around his neck, his hair slightly messy as if he hadn't slept in days. His eyes, red-rimmed, weary yet determined, met mine. "Mrs. Taylor?" he asked softly. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. "Yes." He shifted awkwardly, holding his hands together. "I hope I'm not intruding. I needed to see you." My breath caught. "Why?" He hesitated before speaking, his voice thick with emotion. Because what happened at that church wasn't right. Not to me but to you. You raised her. You gave her everything. And she treated you like you were nothing. He clenched his jaw. I couldn't marry her after that. I just couldn't. Tears welled in my eyes as his words sank into me. For the first time I felt a flicker of dignity return. A reminder that I wasn't invisible. Someone had seen my pain. Someone had chosen truth over pride. I brought this for her, I whispered, my voice trembling as I lifted the box with the locket. But she didn't want it. Michael's gaze softened as he looked at it. He reached out but then stopped, shaking his head. Keep it, Mrs. Taylor. One day, maybe she'll come back for it. But until then, it belongs with you. Silence hung between us, heavy yet healing. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel entirely alone. He stayed for tea, though neither of us drank much. We talked not just about the wedding but about life, about family, about what it means to honor those who raised you. His words were steady, his respect genuine. When he finally stood to leave, he looked at me with a seriousness that made my chest ache. You're not the one who should feel ashamed, he said firmly. She should. As the door closed behind him, I clutched the locket to my heart, my tears falling freely. For the first time since that cruel day, my heart didn't feel completely shattered. Somewhere deep inside, a fragile hope flickered. Maybe, just maybe, life wasn't finished writing this story. The days after Michael's visit felt different. My home was still quiet, my meals still lonely, and Emma's absence still tore at me like a wound that refused to close. But Michael's words lingered, like a light flickering in the darkness. You're not the one who should feel ashamed. For so long I had convinced myself that maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe Emma had outgrown me. Maybe I truly was the embarrassment she claimed. But hearing him speak, seeing the fire in his eyes when he defended me, it reminded me that my love hadn't been worthless. That the years I spent sacrificing for her had meant something. Still, guilt gnawed at me. I wondered if I had ruined her life. If I hadn't shown up that day, maybe she'd be married now. Maybe she wouldn't be hiding somewhere, angry and humiliated. One rainy afternoon, as I sat by the window watching raindrops streak the glass, I heard footsteps in the hallway. A knock followed, softer this time. My heart skipped. Could it be her? But again it was Michael. He stood there with an umbrella dripping water and a paper bag in his hand. His hair was damp, his shirt slightly wrinkled, but his presence felt steady. I brought dinner, he said simply, lifting the bag. I blinked in surprise. Dinner? He gave a small smile. I figured you shouldn't eat alone tonight. Something inside me cracked, but not in pain. This time it was gratitude. I let him in and soon we were sitting across my small kitchen table, steam rising from the food. It wasn't fancy, just soup and bread. But somehow it tasted better than anything I'd had in months. As we ate, he told me what had happened after the wedding. How Emma had run out crying, refusing to face anyone. How her friends had tried to comfort her, but she wouldn't listen. How his own family had supported his decision, though they were shocked by the public scene. I wanted to marry her, he admitted, his voice low. I loved her, or at least I thought I did. But when she turned you away, it was like a mask fell off. I saw someone I didn't recognize. My heart ached at his words. I didn't want him to suffer because of her choices. He was kind, respectful, and honest, the kind of man any mother would want for her daughter. And yet, Emma had driven him away, just as she had me. You did the right thing, I said softly. Marriage built on shame and lies would never last. You deserve someone who sees love for what it truly is. His eyes met mine across the table, filled with quiet intensity. And so do you. The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. I looked down quickly, my cheeks burning. It had been years since anyone looked at me like that, spoke to me like I mattered. But then the guilt returned. I shouldn't be talking to you like this, I murmured. You were supposed to marry my daughter. He leaned back, sighing. Supposed to. But she chose appearances over love. I won't spend my life with someone ashamed of her own mother. If that makes me heartless, so be it. Silence filled the room, broken only by the patter of rain against the window. And in that silence something shifted. Not romance, not yet, but a bond, fragile and unexpected, formed between us. When he left that night, he thanked me for the meal, though it had been him who brought it. And I stood at the door long after he was gone, clutching the locket, whispering to myself, maybe I'm not invisible after all. The weeks rolled by and still no word from Emma. Each day without her cut deeper, but Michael kept visiting. Sometimes with dinner, sometimes with flowers, sometimes just to sit in silence. He told me about his work, his family, his childhood. In return, I told him stories about Emma. How she used to run barefoot through the fields, how she laughed so loudly the neighbors complained, how she cried when her father left. She wasn't always like this, I said one evening, my voice breaking. She used to love me more than anything. I don't know when it changed. Maybe I pushed too hard. Maybe I wasn't enough. Michael reached across the table, his hand brushing mine gently. You were more than enough. Don't ever doubt that. Sometimes people lose themselves chasing approval from the wrong places. But that's not your fault. That's hers. Tears spilled down my cheeks. His hand stayed there steady, warm, and for the first time in a long time, I let myself feel comfort. One night, as we sat watching the sunset from my tiny balcony, he turned to me suddenly. Do you think she'll ever come back? I swallowed hard, staring at the horizon painted in gold and crimson. I don't know. She's stubborn just like her father. But deep down, she has my heart. And I know hearts can only run so far before they find their way home. He was quiet for a long time, then whispered, I hope you're right. That night after he left, I lay in bed clutching the locket. For the first time in months I prayed not just for Emma but for Michael too. For healing, for peace, for clarity. And as I drifted into sleep, I felt a strange sense of calm, like the universe was preparing me for something. I didn't know then what was coming. I didn't know that fate was already working to bring Emma back to my door. And when she finally came, broken and weeping, everything I thought I had lost would be tested again. It was a cold evening when the knock came. I almost didn't answer. For months, every sound at the door had been Michael, steady and familiar. But this knock was different, hesitant, almost trembling. My heart thudded as I walked across the room, locket pressed tight in my palm. When I opened the door, my breath caught. It was Emma. Her makeup was smeared, her eyes swollen, her dress wrinkled as though she had been running. She looked so unlike the daughter I once knew, and yet in her brokenness, I saw the little girl who used to curl up in my lap and whisper, Don't ever leave me, Mama. Mom! Her voice cracked, raw with shame. Can I come in? I froze. 1,000 emotions rushed through me. Anger, sorrow, love, betrayal. Part of me wanted to slam the door, to scream for the years of hurt, for the way she had torn me apart in front of everyone. But then I saw the way she hugged herself, shivering despite the coat she wore, and my heart betrayed me. I stepped aside. Come in. She crossed the threshold like someone entering a church, her steps slow, unsure. She sat at the table, hands trembling, unable to meet my eyes. For a long while, neither of us spoke. The silence was deafening. Finally, she whispered, I'm sorry. 2 words. Just 2. But they cracked me wide open. Her eyes filled with tears as she went on. I ruined everything. The wedding, Michael, us. I was so obsessed with what people thought. I thought if they saw you, your old clothes, your hands from years of work, they'd judge me. I was afraid of being laughed at. Afraid of being less. And in the process I became less. Less of a daughter. Less of a person. I don't even know who I am anymore. Tears streamed down my face. My voice shook. You hurt me, Emma. Do you know what it felt like? To be called unworthy by the child I gave everything for? I went home that night and asked myself if I should have even lived at all. That's how deep you cut me. She sobbed, covering her face with her hands. I know. And I can never take it back. But Mom, I need you. I don't have anyone else. Michael's gone. My friends disappeared. Everyone saw me for what I did. And her voice broke. I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I'm begging for it anyway. My chest tightened. My instinct was to gather her in my arms, to soothe her the way I did when she scraped her knee as a child. But the pain she caused still burned inside me. I closed my eyes, hearing Michael's words echo. You're not the one who should feel ashamed. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the locket. Slowly, I set it on the table between us. She looked at it, her face crumpling. Do you remember this? I asked. She nodded, tears falling faster. You used to tell me love is carried here. And do you know what love really is, Emma? I said softly, my voice trembling but strong. It's not about perfect dresses or fancy halls. It's not about how the world sees you. Love is sacrifice. Love is staying when it's hard. Love is choosing people over pride. She reached out, fingers brushing the locket, then pulled her hand back as though unworthy. I don't deserve it. I leaned forward, my voice breaking. None of us deserve love. It's a gift. And a gift is given, not earned. Her sobs shook the table. And then slowly I reached across and took her hand. She looked up, eyes wide, as if she couldn't believe I was touching her after all she had done. I forgive you, I whispered. Not because you asked. Not because you deserve it. But because I'm your mother. And no mistake you make can erase that. She collapsed into my arms, clinging to me like she was drowning. And for the first time in years I held my daughter, feeling her tears soak my shoulder. We wept together, two broken women mending. Hours passed before the storm inside us quieted. She finally pulled away, her voice raw. Mom, Michael, do you still see him? I hesitated. Sometimes. He's been kind to me. She nodded slowly, her lips trembling. I don't blame him for leaving. He was right to. But I need you to know. Even if he never forgives me, even if I never get him back, I just want to be your daughter again. If you'll have me. I smiled through my tears, brushing her hair back like I used to when she was small. You were never not my daughter. You just lost your way. And now you're home. For the first time in months, peace filled my house. We sat there side by side, not mother and daughter broken by shame, but mother and daughter bound by love. And though I didn't know what tomorrow would bring, whether Michael would forgive her, whether the world would ever stop judging, I knew one thing with certainty. Love had found its way back. Because no matter how far pride or fear may drive us, love is stronger. And when love speaks, even the coldest hearts learn to listen.